Ritual figurines. Built after 1325, the Great Temple served as the spiritual center of Tenochtitlan until 1521, when the Spanish conquerors destroyed it. But thanks to the efforts of the Temple Mayor project and INAH, the history of this temple comes to life again before us. The Temple Mayor was not just a building, it was a place of worship for Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, symbolizing war and fertility. Today, its remains can be seen near the Zocalo in Mexico City. Recent excavations have uncovered the Tepetlacali, a treasure where figurines and various objects were found. These finds tell us about the ancient culture and rituals of the Aztecs. According to archaeologist Lopez Lujan, these figurines had special significance in religious rites. A stone chest was also found, indicating the reign of Montezuma I, which contained more than 186 relics. These finds are evidence of the rich and unique culture of the Aztecs. Time capsule from the late 18th century. In the USA at West Point, experts opened a mysterious box that had lain for 200 years at the base of the monument. Everyone thought that there would be ancient documents there, but there were only coins. It turned out that the box contained old American coins and a commemorative medal. But even despite their age, the cost of each coin is only a few hundred or even thousands of dollars. Archaeologist Hudson was a little upset, but still took the lead box to the laboratory, where he began to analyze the contents, because there could be other mysterious objects lost to time. And although the box did not bring the expected discoveries, each find is a new piece of history. Mysterious golden egg. In Alaska, researchers discovered a mysterious golden object that most closely resembles the egg from the movie Alien. Scientists immediately thought that there was something alive inside, or there was some kind of a new sea sponge. This mysterious artifact was discovered at a depth of 3 kilometers during an expedition led by NOAA. The most interesting thing is that it has a hole. One of the researchers suggested that something was trying to get in or get out. Scientists are shocked. They have never seen anything like this. Carrie Howell, an expert in deep-sea ecology, admitted that in 20 years of work she had never encountered anything like this. Mary Roberts, a marine biologist, suggested that it could be the shell of some deep-sea creature. Maybe it's even the egg of a deep-sea shark or stingray. Perhaps something has already hatched from it and swam into the unknown depth of the ocean. At this point, the egg has been sent to the laboratory for further and more accurate study. From a magical remedy to a serious illness. In ancient times, these stones were worth a fortune. It was believed that they saved from poisons. The Middle Ages were a very unusual time in our history. Palaces, dances, and poisons. The aristocracy even took poison in small doses to get used to it. That's where pebbles and bezoars came in handy, which according to those times absorbed poison from drinks. They were usually turned into stylish accessories, rings and pendants. But here's a fun fact. One smart surgeon, Emperor Perret, decided to test whether bezoars actually worked, and it turned out that no. Typically, bezoars form in animals, for example when a small piece of fur enters their stomach and begins to become overgrown with minerals like a pearl in an oyster. Now, of course, these stones are valuable only as museum exhibits, but they never cease to amaze even today. The oldest meteorite. Meet Earth-002, not a simple meteorite, but a whole great-grandfather from space. It is already 4.6 billion years old. It was found in the Sahara Desert and holds the record for being the oldest volcanic rock on Earth. This is an andesitic achondrite, one of the first space inhabitants. Scientists from Australia decided to find out all its secrets, understand how the planets were formed and what happened in the solar system at the dawn of its existence. But our old man has prepared a surprise. The isotope aluminum-26 was the main source of heat in the early evolution of the solar system. In addition, by its quantity, experts usually determine the age of meteorites. But it turned out that at the beginning of the existence of the solar system, this aluminum was distributed unevenly, so the old methods of determining age are no longer so accurate. This discovery changed the ideas of scientists. Now, to find out the age of the space inhabitant, we need a new approach. Mayan ritual victims. At the archaeological site of Moral Reforma, where the ancient Mayans once reigned, scientists have found 13 burials with elongated skulls. Yes, and these poor fellas were beheaded. I often said that the Mayans had a special tendency to make skulls elongated, change their shape even in childhood. It was a sign of high status, and all new 13 skulls discovered belonged to men aged 17 to 45 years. Miriam Martinez, an anthropologist, says the skulls were cut off with a sharp object, although it is unclear whether such injury led to death or something that happened afterward. And one more interesting fact, some of the remains had a red pigment on them. What is it and why is it there? Scientists are still working on this issue. Theopetra Cave Time Capsule. Just think, 130,000 years ago, people already chose this cave as their home. These are the conclusions archaeologists made while studying the Theopetra cave in the heart of Greece at the foot of Meteora. This amazing piece of land was formed between 137 and 65 million years ago. People found a cozy place to live in this cave, and its inner world turned out to be extremely spacious, about 500 square meters. And what's especially nice is that the cave is so light thanks to the huge entrance. The exploration of the cave began in 1987 and lasted for 20 years under the strict guidance of Dr. Nina Kiperisi Apostoliki. Initially, the cave served as a shelter for local shepherds' sheep, but then became a key site for archaeologists throughout Greece. Here's an interesting fact. Theopetra is the only cave in Greece where the historical lifeline from the Paleolithic to the Neolithic is clearly visible. Such a scientific window into the past is a real rarity. 99% of people on Earth died. There are moments in human history that make us think about the fragility of life. One of these moments is the bottleneck effect. According to the results of genetic studies, approximately 70,000 years ago, the number of modern humans, Homo sapiens, fell to critically low levels, perhaps to several thousand individuals. Who caused this mass extinction? The main theory points to a powerful volcanic eruption in Indonesia, the Toba supervolcano. It was one of the most destructive in the history of the planet and caused dramatic climate change, which led to global cooling. This, in turn, created extreme survival conditions that many human populations were unable to cope with. However, despite all the difficulties, a small group of people continued to fight for survival, becoming the genetic ancestors of all living people. Modern human genetic evidence suggests that the genetic diversity of Homo sapiens is surprisingly low, especially when compared with other species. This fact is a direct consequence of the bottleneck. Today, scientists around the world continue to explore this unique period in human history, trying to understand all the mechanisms of survival and adaptation of our distant ancestors. This episode reminds us that the history of our species is full of secrets and surprises, and how important it is to appreciate every moment of our existence. Ancient Arrow. Somewhere in the heights of the Scandinavian mountains, scientists have found an arrow older than the pyramids. It is 4,000 years old. At first, archaeologists thought it was from the Iron Age, but as they say, the devil is in the details. When the ice enveloping the arrow began to melt, scientists saw a special stone tip. It turned out that this arrow dates back to the Stone Age. This is the first such antiquity has been discovered at this site. The arrow hid in the Norwegian mountains, and now, thanks to the climate change, has decided to show itself to the world. Now many archaeologists are exploring glaciers in search of treasures hidden under the ice cover. Ship in Serbia. On the site of the ancient Roman camp of Vimanaseum, which was the capital of the ancient province of Mosia, Serbian archaeologists are examining the remains of a 13-meter river vessel. This historic camp is located 144 kilometers southeast of Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. This is not the first time that coal miners have found ancient traces of former life in this area. Unfortunately, the ship was not fully preserved and was damaged, but as archaeologists noted, the wood is in good condition. Experts have already moved the remains of the ship to an archaeological camp for further research. Now scientists are trying to determine to what period the found vessel belongs. According to experts, the ship can date back to both the Roman era and the last century. Archaeologists plan to apply for funding from the Serbian Ministry of Culture to continue their research. When the museum is built, visitors will be able to see all the ships and boats found on this section of the Danube. Roman swords in Israel. In ancient caves near the Dead Sea, where the dry climate has preserved the secrets of past centuries, researchers from Israel have made a startling discovery. In the depth of these caves, they discovered 4 Roman swords. Amazingly, 3 of them were still in their original wooden sheath. The reason for the expedition was an inscription in Hebrew on a stalactite found half a century ago. This inscription indicated the possible presence of ancient artifacts or objects of cult significance. According to acts from the Israel Antiquities Authority, Jewish rebels may have captured these swords from Roman legionnaires 1,900 years ago and hid them for later use in the fight against the invaders. The spathas that were found were indeed the main weapon of the Roman soldiers of that time. They had long straight blades and were double-edged. The 4th sword, with a ring pommel, probably belonged to the pilum, an ancient Roman throwing spear. These swords are not just weapons, they are evidence of an era, a bridge between the past and the present. Such finds are very rare because iron is susceptible to corrosion. But thanks to the unique conditions in this region, historical artifacts have remained intact for centuries. Caches in the Lost City. Have you heard about the lost city of Canoe in Greece? So, the other day, archaeologists discovered several ancient caches of coins there. Many people used to think that Canoe was just a myth, but everything changed in 1984 when local residents, while digging a well, stumbled upon an ancient sarcophagus. Recent excavations have brought even more interesting finds. Researchers discovered a huge Roman building with an area of 156 square meters with unique stonework. Inside this building, archaeologists discovered a cache containing 18 coins, a key, a stylus, and Roman ceramics. Elsewhere, another cache was found with 2,100 coins which date back to the 5th-6th centuries. Among these coins, especially valuable are those depicting ancient rulers. In addition, archaeologists have found many figurines intended for sacrifices. And here's another surprise. Scientists have discovered a Roman tomb where a small child was buried. Inside this tomb were found amazing artifacts, including rare coins and a lamp depicting the god Ares. Canoe is indeed often mentioned in Greek myth. According to one legend, the city was founded by Trojan prisoners of war around 1100 BC. This incredible story proves that even lost cities can reveal their secrets after thousands of years, and who knows what else awaits us in Canoe. Skeleton with intact brain. Imagine a giant 45-hectare mound that looks like a heart in aerial photographs. It is called the Heart of Western Anatolia for a reason. Now comes the fun part. For the first time in the history of Turkish archaeology, scientists have discovered well-preserved skin remains. And what else? Remains of the brain. Imagine the remains of a brain that is already 3,700 years old. Finds of such antiquity are something incredible. They were a young guy, 15-18 years old, and a middle-aged man. Apparently, their house was set on fire during the Bronze Age and they did not have time to get out. It's scary to imagine, but it was thanks to this fire that the remains were so well preserved. This amazing mound was the real capital of its region in ancient times, but around 1700 BC, it was completely destroyed by attack. And now comes the main question. How is this possible? How could the remains of brain and skin survive after such a long time? Thanks to extremely high fire temperatures. This is truly a unique and rare find. 1,000-year-old mummy. Have you heard about the latest archaeological discovery from the capital of Peru, Lima? Researchers have discovered a 1,000-year-old mummy. The discovery was made in the prestigious Miraflores area, near which researchers discovered 2 ceramic vessels and ancient fabrics. The mummy is said to be associated with the Ixma culture, an ancient people who lived south of Lima. It's interesting that Lima has already surprised us with such finds. Recently, another mummy was found at the top of a hill, surrounded by cocoa leaves. And the most interesting thing is that this place of Huaca Pilana is considered an archaeological gold mine. Scientists are sure there are still many secrets waiting to be discovered. Canoe in good condition. Archaeologists in Switzerland recently presented a canoe that is 2,500 years old. It was discovered at a depth of 3.5 meters in Lake Neuchâtel, and the most interesting thing, it dates back to the early Iron Age. This ancient boat was discovered thanks to an archaeological survey of the lake carried out with the help of an airplane, and it took several months to completely remove the canoe. As archaeologist Nicole Poisas says, this find is the real treasure for understanding the antediluvian history of the region. The canoe made of oak has been preserved almost in its original form. Archaeologists are now analyzing the canoes to learn more about life during that era. Using special technology, they will even create a 3D model to show what this boat looked like in the past. Buddha statue in Egypt. As part of a joint American-Polish archaeological expedition, scientists made a startling discovery at Berenice, an ancient Roman-era Egyptian port city on the Red Sea. During the excavations, researchers found a marble statue of Buddha, almost a meter high. The Buddha is depicted holding his robe in one hand, while the other part of the statue is missing. The background of the statue is decorated with a mandola, symbolizing the enlightened mind with traced rays of light. In addition, there is a blooming lotus at the base. The dating of the artifact indicates the 1st-2nd centuries AD. This find provides evidence of commercial relations between Egypt and India in ancient times. Such connections may have begun even before the 4th century BC. Another prince of ancient feet. Archaeologists in South Africa have discovered footprints that could change our understanding of the daily lives of early people. The footprints discovered at Kleinkrans may have been dated to between 79,000 and 148,000 years ago. They have features that indicate that people of this era used shoes. Why did scientists conclude that it was shoes? The absence of toe prints and the presence of clear edges indicate that the person was not barefoot. The footprints may have belonged to ancient hominids of average height. The researchers recreated the scenario using sand sandals to see if they would leave similar marks. The results were convincing. The sandals created similar marks, especially on wet sand. This conclusion may seem trivial, but it has profound historical implications. In those days, a traumatic wound on the foot could have been a deadly threat. Shoes could serve not only as protection from sharp objects, but also as a precaution against environmental hazards. However, despite all the evidence, scientists are in no hurry to confirm that it was shoes, given the difficulty of interpreting the prints and the lack of actual samples of such ancient shoes. Cave paintings of Val Camonica. In the Val Camonica Valley, located in northern Italy, there are over 200,000 cave paintings created by various cultures over the past 8,000 years. These engravings provide unique evidence of ancient civilizations depicting their rituals, social structure, and daily life. However, among the many traditional images of animals, dancing people, and symbols, there are several engravings that are of particular interest of researchers. Some of them look like figures dressed in strange costumes reminiscent of spacesuits with details similar to helmets, antennas, and other devices. These drawings have given rise to much speculation. Some argue that they may have been created after contact between the ancient inhabitants of Val Camonica and alien civilizations. Such theories often rely on the appearance of these figures, arguing that ancient people may have depicted extraterrestrial beings or even astronauts they encountered. However, most scholars are inclined to believe that these engravings may represent ritual or symbolic images, perhaps associated with religious beliefs or rituals of the time. Here, scientists always have one opinion. If a find cannot be explained, it means it is connected either with something extraterrestrial or with an ancient ritual. Gold necklaces in an unusual place. At the end of August, in the province of Asturias, Spain, Sergio Narchandi accidentally discovered a unique piece of gold jewelry while working on a pipeline in the municipality of Cavanzi. At first glance, Sergio realized the value of the find. In front of him was an ancient toque, a neck decoration symbolizing high social status. Soon, archaeologists arrived at the discovery site. These artifacts, experts said, could be key to understanding the Iron Age, revealing the secrets of pre-Roman societies. These decorations will help us delve deeper into the cultural, technological, and social aspects of that era. Estimating the age of the jewelry, scientists suggest that they are about 2,500 years old. Torques, traditionally made from precious materials, are most often associated with Celtic and Germanic nobility. Experts noted that the high level of craftsmanship inherent in these ancient jewelry, which opens new horizons for the study of artifacts of this time. Parasite axe 200 million years old. Modern parasites are known to play a key role in ecosystems. However, paleontologists from Mahasarkham University, Thailand, have made breakthroughs in understanding their historical presence. After examining the fossilized excrement of ancient animals, they found ancient parasites in them, including Ascaris roundworms. The discovery follows reports of the revival of an ancient worm from Siberian permafrost by Russian scientists. Working with coprolites dating back about 200 million years, scientists discovered structures consistent with 5 types of parasites. Interest in these fossils stemmed from locals in Thailand who considered them good luck talismans due to their unusual shape. This is the first known example of parasites in a terrestrial vertebrate from the late Triassic period in Asia. It is also one of the few records of preserved roundworm eggs in coprolites of ancient animals. These parasites were found in the excrement of what appeared to be a phytosaur or other crocodile-like reptile from the Triassic period. The find strengthens our understanding of how parasites interacted with their hosts in ancient times. The Fat Lady of Saliagos. The Fat Lady of Saliagos represents a unique testimony to the ancient culture that flourished in the Cyclades Islands during the Neolithic era. Its discovery revealed many secrets about the lifestyle, religious practices, and artistic traditions of this ancient society. Saliagos, despite its small size, was of key importance in the early history of the Aegean region. In addition to its role as a connecting isthmus between Antiparos and Paris, it was a center of production and trade, as evidenced by finds of obsidian tools in excess of local needs. Ceramic vases discovered on the island provide insight into the design and style of that era. Their patterns and shapes reflect creativity that may have had religious or cultural significance to the people of Saliagos. Overall, the discoveries at Saliagos provide invaluable information about the ancient world of the Aegean region. Early Iron Age cremation burial. During the expedition to Holstadt Salzburg in Austria, many new finds were discovered. The most remarkable of these is a cremation burial containing well-preserved bronze objects. While studying the metal finds, scientists discovered surprisingly well-preserved remains of fabric. Holstadt is famous for its salt mining dating back to prehistoric times and given its name to the Holstadt culture, a people who emerged in the late Bronze Age. The burial is located in an Iron Age cemetery first opened in 1846. In 1863, archaeologists discovered more than 1,000 graves at this site. Among the finds are a ribbed hand ring, spirals of thin wire, and a bronze plate with traces of a wooden handle. The finds were tightly packed into the grave. Archaeologists have identified traces of fabric on the spiral discs, which may provide the first archaeological evidence of the use of textile bags for cremated remains. Art and relics with cosmic features. Over the centuries, humanity has created art and relics which sometimes represent figures with an unusual cosmic features. These images have become the subject of discussions and theories related to the possibility of contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations. One of the most famous examples is the ancient images in the Indian Vedas, which describe flying machines known as Vimanas. While most researchers believe they represent mythological or symbolic images, some claim they are evidence of ancient technology or even extraterrestrial intervention. In numerous ancient cultures from Egypt to Central America, statues and reliefs have been found that depict figures with unusual helmet-like headdresses or other cosmic attributes. These images are often associated with gods or great rulers who could descend from heaven. Another example is the art of the ancient Sumerians. Some of these images represent creatures that some theorists argue could be interpreted as extraterrestrial. However, most archaeologists and art historians argue that such images are the result of religious beliefs, mythology, or symbolic art, rather than evidence of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Whatever the true meaning of these images is, they serve as a reminder of the richness and depth of human imagination and our desire to understand and interpret the unknown around us. Climate of the ancient world according to wooden tablets. Researchers have uncovered the secrets of the climate of the past thanks to an unusual source: ancient mummies. In Roman times, wooden tablets were attached to mummies, and it was these small details that turned out to be the key to unraveling the weather of those times. It wasn't just names engraved on them. The rings on the tree turned out to be a living chronicle of the climate. Throughout the years, narrow rings on the tree become their witnesses. But to get a complete picture of ancient weather, one tablet is not enough. Fortunately, many such artifacts have survived. Museums around the world hold thousands of them, and it's interesting that they are from different tree species. The late study took 300 of these ancient climate records. This helped scientists get closer to understanding the weather conditions of the eastern Mediterranean in the areas of what is now Lebanon, Greece, and the Nile River. However, the date of each climate change remains a mystery. Perhaps the answers lie in radiocarbon dating. Remains of an ancient market. In Northampton's Market Square, archaeologists have discovered unique finds that open new pages in the city's history. Among them are a possible punishment post and traces of an unknown market hall. A team from London's Museum of Archaeology found fragments of medieval shoes, textiles, ceramics, and animal bones. In the center of the square, they found a stone building, possibly a market chamber. Another building may predate the creation of the market in 1236. The discovered structures may be depicted on a 17th century map. In the south of the square, they found the Great Conduit built by Edward IV. They also found a medieval pillar that could have been used for punishment. After the research, the structures will be closed and the found objects will be stored in the museum. Tales of the Star People among the Indians. In the culture of many indigenous people of America, there are legends about star people who, as these legends say, arrived on Earth from outer space. These mythological tales embody ancient encounters between the continent's indigenous people and creatures from distant stars. Such stories are especially vivid in the culture of the tribes of the plateau of North America. According to their beliefs, star people not only visited Earth but also passed on knowledge to the Indians, helping them adapt to life, teaching them farming, healing, and even spiritual practices. One of the legends tells how the star people descended to Earth on sparkling silver discs, attracting the attention of the Indians with their light and sound. These newcomers were friendly and imparted wisdom and knowledge to the tribe. There are also legends that some of the Indians went into the sky with the star people and returned back, enriched with new knowledge and experience. Interestingly, these tales share similarities with myth from other cultures around the world. However, while for most researchers these stories are just myth born of human imagination, the need to understand the universe, others argue that they may provide evidence of ancient encounters with extraterrestrial life. Exposing the aliens from Peru. The world community was shocked by the news about mummies from the Nazca Desert, presumably of alien origin. After a high-profile presentation in Mexico, many media outlets paid attention to them. But according to Peru's Minister of Culture, Leslie Urteaga, things weren't that simple. These remains, she said, date back to the pre-Hispanic period. As it turned out, these are ancient bone remains and not aliens. But journalist and ufologist Jamie Mawson claims the opposite. He is confident that the 60 centimeter remains, which are about 1,000 years old, are aliens. The secret of these mummies has been discussed at the state level for many years. Urteaga admitted, "We knew about this discovery much earlier. However, in Peru, there is still no clear understanding of what kind of mummies these are. The intrigue is aggravated by statements from scientists. Perhaps these are real ancient mummies, fragments of which once fell into the hands of scammers. We learned about amazing archaeological discoveries and mysterious traces that aliens could have left in ancient times. 6,000-year-old human DNA. In the city of Wuxi, China, archaeologists have discovered the DNA of a person who lived here 6,000 years ago. These molecules were found in 2 tombs associated with the Middle Neolithic Majaban culture. Until now, information about the inhabitants of this region has been limited. However, thanks to new finds, it became known that the first people settled in Wuxi at least 6,000 years ago. During the research, which began in April 2022, more than 100 traces of ancient human activity were found, including 2 tombs with DNA. Ancient children's shoes. In the Austrian village of Dernbach, archaeologists made an amazing discovery. They managed to find ancient leather children's shoes with fully preserved laces. After asserting their style and design, scientists determined that the shoes dated back to the 2nd century AD, an era known as the Iron Age. According to the German Mining Museum Bochum and the Leibniz Georesource Research Museum, the size of the found artifact corresponds to the size 30 of the modern European system. The uniqueness of this find is in its preservation. The main reason for such an ideal condition of ancient shoes is salt. The village of Dernberg has long been famous for its salt mines, and salt is excellent at preserving organic materials. Organic objects usually degrade over time, but thanks to the unique conditions of preservation, ancient textile remains and even excrement found in the area are giving scientists the opportunity to learn more about the lives of Iron Age people. Mummy on top of the pyramid. In Peru, archaeologists discovered a mummy that is about 1,000 years old. Researchers believe that the mummy belongs to the pre-Incan Ixma culture. The mummy was buried in a simple round tomb at the top of a pyramid located in the heart of a residential area of Peru's capital, Lima. Huaca Pilana is a monumental clay pyramid over 20 meters high located in the Miraflores region. This structure, consisting of 7 step platforms, was erected by the Lima culture, which developed on the central coast of Peru between 200 and 700 AD. This site served as an important religious center for the ancient inhabitants. Ritual ceremonies were probably held on the site. The Huaca Pilana site reveals 3 distinct phases of settlement prior to the arrival of the Spaniards. The first was the Lima culture, followed by the Uari and Ixma cultures. The Ixma culture, which developed around 1000 AD until its assimilation by the Incas in the 15th century, used the pyramid as a burial site. Curse of the Terracotta Army. The majestic Terracotta Army, one of the most amazing archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, remained underground for a long time, hidden from the eyes of mankind. This incredible discovery was made by accident by peasants in the 1970s in the city of Xi'an in northwest China. While they were digging a well, their shovels came across fragments of ancient pottery. No one could have imagined that a whole army of 8,000 clay warriors was under their feet. However, behind the beauty and grandeur of this archaeological wonder lies a dark secret. Legends say that thousands of workers who worked to create this army were buried alive along with the statues to keep the location of the tomb secret. Over time, many of those who tried to explore this place or even just touch the statues encountered misfortunes and troubles. This gave rise to rumors about the curse of the Terracotta Army. Among local residents, there is a belief that the spirits of ancient warriors guard their emperor and do not forgive any contact with their statues. All this makes the story of the Terracotta Army even more exciting and mysterious, reminding us that sometimes the past can come back to remind us of itself. And while millions of eyes look at the majestic statues of warriors, somewhere in the depth, secret guardians continue to guard the ancient secret. Gold coins on the side of a pagan temple. All items found in Wingram are truly unique to researchers. These small square coins, or perhaps amulets, reflect the culture and art of a distant era when the ancient people of Northern Europe practiced paganism and created complex rituals using such objects. The discovery in Wingram is an important evidence of the history of the early Middle Ages in the region and evidence of active religious life. Gold artifacts could serve as symbols of wealth and status and also serve a religious or magical function. The fact that they were discovered in the area of an ancient pagan temple only confirms this. Many archaeologists and historians hope that future excavations will bring even more discoveries and help restore the appearance and function of such objects. We may still have a lot to learn about the lives and beliefs of the ancient peoples of Norway. Atlas sculpture. The impressive discovery at Chichen Itza enhances understanding of the extensive cultural connections between Mexico's ancient civilizations. The discovered atlas likely played an important role in religious or cultic ceremonies, and its detailed carvings indicate a high level of skill by ancient artisans. That the sculpture was found during construction in a modern area is a reminder of how deeply the roots of history run deep into the earth, even under places that seem long forgotten or lost. Atlas from Chichen Itza will be another testimony to the glorious and multifaceted history of ancient Mexican civilizations. 1,500-year-old Mayan Palace. On the Yucatan Peninsula in the city of Caba, archaeologists made a unique discovery related to the ancient Mayan civilization. Researchers discovered 2 luxury residential complexes and a majestic 26-meter-long palace. Rectangular columns are visible on the facade of the building, and its decor is made in the form of images of birds, feathers, and beads. Remains of ceramics, including painted vessels, were found inside the premises. Lourdes Toscano Hernandez, who is leading the research project, emphasizes that these premises were home to those who governed the city and may have performed administrative functions. Despite their grandeur, until recently these archaeological structures were hidden under dense vegetation. The dating of the buildings has yet to be done, but it is known that the city of Caba was found between 250 and 580. Tombs of the elite lords. In the highlands of the Peruvian Andes, in the province of Vilcas Huaman, Ayacucho region, archaeologists have discovered 7 ancient tombs belonging to the upper classes. According to researchers, the age of human remains in the tombs is approaching 2,900 years. This time predates the warrior culture which flourished in the Andes and coastal regions of what is now Peru between approximately 500 and 1000 AD. The found burials belong to outstanding personalities who were called lords of Vilcas Huamana. At the excavation site, archaeologists discovered 3 mounds surrounded by terraces with stone walls and many fragments of ceramics. Under the circular structure, scientists discovered several pits covered with slabs containing remains. Vessels as offerings were found along with the bodies. During the excavations, archaeologists found many funeral objects, including metal needles, rings, and gold feathers. These finds indicate that the burials belonged to the elite class. Recipe from the grave. Czech scientists have recreated Celtic beer based on research of pollen from an ancient Celtic burial in Moravia. Beer has deep roots, with its first traces going back to the Middle East, where breweries emerged around 5,500 years ago. However, its full history still remains a mystery. Excavations carried out in 2020 and 2021 have opened new horizons in the understanding of ancient cultures, revealing the life and traditions of pre-Celtic people. Modern analysis of pollen found at the site have revealed traces of millets and other herbs used by the Celts to create beer. Scientists speculate that some ingredients, such as clover, may have served as sweeteners for the drink, pointing to complex taste preference and ancient technology. The created beer, Tarry Ale, has a unique taste, different from modern varieties, emphasizing the role of various herbs and spices in its production. The lack of hops is an interesting aspect of the beer's flavor profile, making it similar to medieval recipes. Being one of humanity's oldest drinks, continues to connect people across cultures and centuries. Teeth decorated with precious stones. Ancient civilizations surprised modern scientists with their techniques and traditions. One of these amazing traditions was the decoration of teeth among the Mayans. This phenomena, discovered by archaeologists in Mexico, testifies to the high level of development of the art of dentistry and what fashion trends were at that time. Interestingly, such jewelry was not just a symbol of higher status or wealth, but rather a fashion accessory. This suggests that the Maya had a well-developed social hierarchy and a culture of attention to one's body and appearance. However, gold and precious stones on the teeth were not the only decoration. Archaeologists also discovered teeth with notches and grooves, which indicates complex decorative techniques. Many discoveries made in Mexico have allowed scientists to learn more about the life and traditions of the ancient Mayans. And although many aspects of their culture still remain a mystery, each new discovery helps to paint a more complete picture of this amazing civilization. Wooden structure 500,000 years old. Archaeologists from China have made an astonishing discovery at Kalambo Falls in South Africa. They discovered traces of the life of ancient representatives of the genus Homo, which are about 476,000 years old. The main discovery is fragments of a wooden structure, which indicates that these people not only used wood to create tools, but also for construction. The Kalambo Falls site itself is an archaeological treasure containing artifacts from various cultures, but this recent discovery has revolutionized reflects the way ancient people lived. Wooden structures dating back to the Middle Pleistocene era prove that people of this time could lead a sedentary lifestyle engaged in construction and wood processing. Scientists have concluded that these structures were part of a dwelling or other large structure. They may have used them not only for shelter, but also for social or religious ceremonies. However, the question of who exactly was the creator of this architectural heritage remains open. It could be Homo erectus or another representative of the genus Homo. Scientists now have every reason to believe that ancient representatives of the genus Homo were much more advanced than we previously thought. Queen Cleopatra's handwriting. Egypt, a land that holds many secrets of the past, has once again surprised the world community. Archaeologists have discovered a papyrus with an ancient decree dating back to 33 BC, which experts believe was signed by Cleopatra herself. This document demonstrates the high status of the Roman officer Publius Canidius, who was exempt from paying taxes. Particular attention was drawn to the Greek word gynechoi, translated as "let it be," written probably by the hand of the queen herself. Such a subject gives scientists a unique opportunity to look into the life and administrative activities of the ancient Egyptian monarchy. Dutch professor Peter van Minnen emphasizes that the structure of the document and the absence of a formal introduction from Cleopatra make the text a personal message from the queen to a high-ranking official. The discovery confirms the hypothesis that Cleopatra actively participated in government, not limited to just the symbolic role of the monarch. The papyrus talks about the close diplomatic and economic ties between Egypt and Rome. Such papyrus, which may contain the handwriting of one of the most famous women in history, is a true treasure for historians and archaeologists. And although many aspects of Cleopatra's life still remain a mystery, each new discovery brings us closer to understanding this mysterious and great queen. Underwater Temple of Aphrodite. Recently, researchers found a submerged temple dedicated to the goddess Aphrodite underwater off the coast of Alexandria. This extraordinary discovery demonstrates just how deep the connections between the ancient Egyptians and Greeks were. This finding proves that Greek sailors and traders not only visited Egyptian ports, but also left a piece of their culture there, erecting temples in honor of their deities. Ceramic and bronze objects found inside the sunken temple traveled to the ancient lands of the pharaohs from distant Greece. Remembering the history of Heracleion, a city lost under the waves of the Gulf of Aboukir, one can imagine how this once prosperous place was a center of cultural and economic exchange between Egypt and the ancient world. Having drowned in the waters of the Mediterranean Sea about 1,200 years ago, Heracleion continues to reveal its secrets, surprising and astonishing scientists from all over the world. Cybele on a chariot. Medallion depicting Cybele on a chariot, dated to the 2nd century BC, is a unique work of art of the Greco-Bactrian kingdom. This kingdom originated in the region that is now part of modern Afghanistan and was formed by the Greek conquerors after Alexander the Great. Cybele, the maternal goddess of nature and fertility, was a cult figure in a number of ancient religions, and her image on the medallion speaks to the mixture of cultures and religious practices in the Greco-Bactrian kingdom. The medallion depicts Cybele driving a chariot drawn by lions, symbolizing her dominant role in nature and the cosmos. Egyptian crocodile armor. Egyptian crocodile armor is a truly unique find. It was created from crocodile skin and was used in religious rites in ancient Egypt. During the time of the pharaohs, crocodiles were considered sacred animals and symbolized strength and power. The god Sobek, often depicted as a man with the head of a crocodile, was one of the most important deities in Egyptian mythology. It was often associated with the power of the pharaohs as well as protection and fertility. The armor, made from crocodile skin, was allegedly used by priests during religious ceremonies in honor of Sobek. Crocodile skin, in turn, was considered a powerful amulet that protected against enemies and evil spirits. Mermaid from India. Not many people have heard of the archaeological site of Chandrakota in India, which is located about 35 kilometers from Kolkata. Chandrakataka was a prosperous port city involved in international trade where people lived since 400 BC before 1250 AD. Today, only the ruins of a brick Buddhist temple from the 10th century remain on this site. Interest in Chandrakataka arose due to the many terracotta artifacts dating back to the Shunga period, i.e. 200–100 BC. Most of them were stolen and taken abroad, and only a few fragments survived in Indian museums. Although the complex was discovered in 1906, the Archaeological Survey of India under British control did not carry out excavations here. Many of the stolen items are now in museums around the world, such as the Metropolitan. 2 terracotta plates depict a mermaid, a rather rare image in Indian culture. In one, a mermaid swims by a lake holding something that looks like a mirror or a flower. People on the shore look at her as if she was a miracle. The great chief arrived in a chariot to see this creature. On another, a mermaid was caught in a net by fishermen. People wave at her and she answers them without showing any fear. Looking at these reliefs, I wondered, are they not a reflection of ancient legends or real events that took place in Chandrakuttra 2,200 years ago? Perhaps mermaids were not a figment of the imagination, but real sea creatures in ancient times. Write in the comments under the video, do you believe in the existence of mermaids or something similar? It's no wonder that the depths of the seas and oceans have not yet been explored. Tutankhamun's camping cot. A recently published report by Japanese researchers says that a unique camping cot from the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun represents a real technological breakthrough of its time. Discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter, this exclusive folding bed has a striking design. It can be folded into a Z shape. Architect Naoko Nishimoto, who specializes in the history of furniture, emphasizes the uniqueness of this find. Although other, simpler folding bed designs have been discovered, this 3-piece bed is something special. Nishimoto claims that the craftsman who created this item demonstrated a real engineering miracle. After all, even the legs of the bed, decorated in the shape of lion paws, were equipped with complex hinges which made it possible to roll them up. These pieces were most likely created through trial and error, indicating the deep intelligence and ingenuity of the artisans. Despite the technology of the bed, it is unlikely that the young pharaoh Tutankhamun used it in practice, since his health and lifestyle did not allow this. Scientists speculate that this bed was part of a funerary treasure, symbolizing eternal comfort in the afterlife. Lycurgus Cup. The Lycurgus Cup is a unique artifact of antiquity, combining high art and complex technical implementation. This Roman glass goblet dates back to the 4th century AD and serves as a striking example of the ancient craftsmanship of glassmaking. The peculiarity of the cup lies in its ability to change color under different lighting conditions. In reflected light, the cup appears green, but when illuminated, it takes on a rich ruby red hue. This effect is achieved thanks to gold and silver nanoparticles in the glass. The image on the cup is based on Greek mythology and tells the story of Lycurgus, who tried to kill Ambrosia, the son of the god of wine Dionysus. The image shows how the vines generated by the vineyard entangle the body of Lycurgus, making it impossible for him to move. The Lycurgus cup is now kept in the British Museum. It serves not only as a magnificent example of ancient art, but also as evidence of the high level of knowledge of ancient artisans in the fields of chemistry and optics. Buddha Iron Man. This is an amazing find that has shocked scientists around the world. This statue, about 24 centimeters high and weighing 10 kilograms, was created from a fragment of a meteorite. The specimen represents the image of the Buddhist god Vaishravana, who symbolizes protection and wealth. The origin of the statue has been carefully studied by researchers. Based on the results of the analysis, it was determined that the material for the creation was taken from the Chingam meteorite, which fell on the border of Mongolia and Siberia about 15,000 years ago. It is believed that the statue was created in the 11th century AD on the territory of Tibet. It is amazing how the ancient masters, without even suspecting the cosmic origin of the material, were able to so skillfully process and transform it into a work of art. In 1937, Ernst Schaffer's expedition, funded by Nazi Germany, discovered the statue in Tibet and brought it back to Germany. Subsequently, its origin and material remained a subject of controversy fantasy and mystery for a long time, until recent scientific research revealed its amazing history. Today, Iron Man stands not only as a majestic work of art, but also as a testament to the unique combination of nature and human artistry. Bottle of ancient Roman wine. An ancient Roman wine bottle dating back to 325 AD is believed to be one of the oldest surviving wine bottles in the world. It was discovered in 1867 near the city of Speyer in Germany as part of a tomb excavation. The vessel is made of glass and has an elongated shape with a narrow neck. Inside the bottle, the wine has turned into a solid substance due to the passing of centuries, but thanks to the sealed plug made of olive wood and wax, the contents of the bottle remained intact. Although modern researchers and wine experts do not recommend trying this ancient drink, it represents a unique testimony to the art of winemaking in ancient Rome. Now the bottle is in the Historical Museum of the city of Speyer and is one of its main exhibits. Ancient Roman boxing gloves. Cestus is an ancient Roman boxing glove which was intended not so much to protect the boxer's hands, but to increase the injury rate of blows. These combat accessories, reinforced with metal or bone inserts, could inflict fatal wounds. The only known surviving specimen of cestus was discovered during archaeological excavations in the city of Pompeii, which was buried under a layer of ash and lava as a result of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. This rare artifact is an amazing testament to ancient Roman sporting culture and the brutality of gladiatorial combat. The cestus is made of leather and decorated with lead and iron inserts. Unlike modern boxing gloves, the purpose of this device was to cause maximum damage to the opponent. Although modern boxing is considered a brutal sport, Roman fights using cestus were much more dangerous and bloody. Medieval female giant. In the Middle Ages, on the island of Ostrów-Lednicki in Poland, there lived a woman of extraordinary height, who probably suffered from mental disorders. This is the only known giantess from Poland at that time, as confirmed by Dr. Magdalena Matzek. Her height was about 215 centimeters, while ordinary women were around 1.5 meters tall. The woman passed away at the age of 25-30. Her skeleton was found by researchers in the Lednice area. According to assumptions, the presence of such a disease could be accompanied by mental problems. Interestingly, despite her height, the life of a giantess in medieval Poland could have been quite comfortable since she was well known in her community. But her burial was unusual. Contrary to accepted traditions, her face was directed to the west, and she didn't have funerary objects. The Holy Grail of the Nazis. This artifact has become increasingly popular over time, especially in the context of research into the esoteric beliefs of the Nazi regime. It is true that a number of senior Nazi leaders, including Himmler, were interested in the occult and mystical traditions. However, it is necessary to understand that most of the information on this topic is based on myth and guesses. However, there is a version that the Nazis were actually looking for the Holy Grail in the hope of using its mythical properties for their own purposes. In combination with archaeological expeditions organized by the Anabe SS Research Institute, this version becomes even more interesting. Some historians claim that one of the goals of Nazi expeditions to Tibet and other regions was to search for relics, including the Grail. However, there is no clear evidence for this. There is also an opinion that the Grail could be located in southern France, in the Cauca region, and that the Nazis carried out excavations there. This myth has been further inflated by popular culture, especially movies and books. A number of works depict Nazis pursuing sacred relics, including the Grail, to gain supernatural power or justify their ideology. Scientific and historical research on the topic proves that while the Nazis were indeed interested in the occult and mysticism, most of these claims are based on myth. However, the idea that the Nazis may have been searching for the Holy Grail has become one of the most recognizable and disturbing themes in modern pop culture. Ring with the inscription for Allah. A ring with Arabic inscription dating back to the 9th century was discovered by researchers from Stockholm University in the city of Burka, an ancient Viking trading center in Sweden. This unique piece of purple stone jewelry speaks to the Vikings' ties to the Islamic world, supporting the theory of trade between these cultures. Initial speculation was that the stone in the ring was an amethyst, but further research revealed that it was violet glass, a material that was rare at the time. Scientists believe that such glass could have come from Egypt or Mesopotamia, supporting the idea of trade links. There are traces of silver on the inside of the ring, indicating that it was purchased new before it became Viking property. This artifact supports the hypothesis of cultural and trade exchanges between Scandinavia and the Arab world, making it one of the most important finds of its time. The oldest pirate flag. The National Museum of the Navy in Portsmouth displays a unique artifact, the Jolly Roger pirate flag captured off the coast of Africa in 1780. This flag with the red background sent a specific message to merchant ships: surrender or die. There are traces of gunpowder and charred bullet holes on its fabric. Around 1700, such flags began to be actively used by pirates. Initially, red dominated, but over time, pirates experimented with other designs, including black flags. Richard Noyce, the museum's curator, says the image of pirates created by Hollywood is far from reality. In history, they were dangerous threats to trade and not romantic movie heroes. Each pirate ship captain could choose his own design for his flag, but the skull and crossbones motif became the most popular. The name Jolly Roger likely comes from the French phrase Joli Rouge, which translates to beautiful red, emphasizing the original red color of the flag. Luris and bronzes. The Luris bronzes are a collection of bronze artifacts originating from the Luris province in western Iran. These objects date back to the period between the 12th and 6th centuries BC and represent some of the most exquisite examples of ancient metallurgy and art. Most Luris bronzes are small figurines, weapons, jewelry, and utensils. Their designs often use geometric motifs and animal images, especially goats and other horned creatures. Some of these items may have been used for religious or ritual purposes, while others may have been objects of everyday use. Luris bronzes represent a reflection of the culture of the people who lived on the territory of modern Iran during the first millennium BC. Their uniqueness lies in their quality and style, which differs from other bronze objects of the time. The oldest tunic from Egypt. The 4.5-year-old tunic is now in the Cairo Museum and is one of the most valuable pieces of ancient Egyptian art. This amazing piece of clothing has been well preserved to this day, giving us a glimpse into the life and fashion of ancient Egypt. The tunic is made of linen, a popular material at the time that was cool and affordable. Its design is simple but elegant. Narrow sleeves and a straight cut emphasize the status and degree of sophistication of its owner. It is interesting to note that despite its age, the tunic design is still relevant today. It is believed that such tunics were worn by high-ranking persons or priests. Clothes of this kind emphasize the status of its owner in society. Members of the upper echelons of Egyptian society often decorated their clothing with embroidery or gold stitching to distinguish themselves from others. Human sacrifice. The ancient Mayans believed that blood had a special power. It was food for the gods, supporting them and ensuring the well-being of the earth. The Mayans performed sacrificial rituals in a variety of contexts, ranging from important royal ceremonies to fortune-telling. The victims were often prisoners of war, children, or members of the royal family. They were tortured, either their heart was cut out right at the top of the pyramid, or they were drowned in sacred wells. These actions had deep religious and cosmological meaning, emphasizing the connection between earth, man, and the gods. However, for modern people, such rituals remain one of the most mysterious and terrifying aspects of Mayan culture. The Wicker Man. In the ancient Celtic cultures scattered throughout Europe, religious rites and rituals played a central role. One of the most mysterious and disturbing of these was the sacrifice in the Wicker Man. This large-scale structure, built from woven branches and foliage in the shape of a man, became a place for the ritual burning of animals and perhaps even people. Descriptions of such rituals have come to us thanks to Roman historians, especially Julius Caesar. In his notes on the Gallic War, he argued that the Druids, the religious leaders of the Celts, performed these rituals for prosperity and harvest. Captives, animals, and even volunteers were imprisoned inside the statue. After that, it was set on fire. The flame engulfing the wicker structure symbolized purification and renewal. Despite the evidence of Roman authors, archaeological finds confirming the existence of such rituals are extremely limited. This makes the Wicker Man a subject of debate and controversy among scholars. Healing rituals. In the north of Spain, among the Green Hills, hides one of the most significant Paleolithic caves, Altamira. This cave is known for its breathtaking paintings, but other amazing evidence of ancient life has been discovered among the archaeological finds here. Among the numerous bones, tools, and jewelry, the researchers found several skulls with clear holes. These holes were the result of trephination, an ancient surgical procedure in which a hole was made in the skull. Why did ancient people decide to undertake such a risky operation? According to one version, trepanation was used to treat certain diseases, such as hydrocephalus or hemorrhage. However, other scholars believe that it could have been a ritual act, an attempt to exorcise evil spirits, or even a way of communicating with deities. Perhaps the ancient inhabitants of Altamira believed that through this surgical opening in the skull, the soul could communicate with the cosmos, or it was a way to free the dying person from suffering. Be that as it may, this procedure is evidence of the high degree of medical knowledge and deep religious beliefs of the ancient people. A creepy burial ritual. Sati is an ancient Indian ritual in which a widow, voluntarily or under social and family pressure, threw herself into the funeral pyre of her deceased husband. This custom was widespread in various regions of India and became a symbol of fidelity, devotion, and endless love of the wife for her husband. Sati did not have universal application across all Indian societies and cultures. This ritual was mainly practiced among the upper castes and was especially common in the regions of Rajasthan, Bengal, and other northern territories. Researchers believe that the main reason for the existence of such a rite was the belief that in this way the widow showed the highest act of devotion and honor by being reunited with her husband in afterlife. However, another theory states that sati became popular to prevent widows from being captured as slaves after invasion and conquest by foreign powers. Unfortunately, not all cases of sati were truly voluntary. Many widows were subject to enormous pressure from their family or society, often due to social status or economic considerations. In some cases, women who did not want to die were forcibly thrown into the fire or even tied up before doing so. Reformers and activists of the 19th century, realizing the cruelty and inhumanity of this custom, began to actively fight the practice of sati. Thanks to their efforts and the intervention of the British colonial administration, a law was passed in 1829 that prohibited sati in India. However, even after the ritual was banned, isolated cases of sati continued to occur in remote areas of the country, and only an active educational campaign and socio-cultural changes gradually led to the disappearance of this practice. Rituals in the pyramid. The Pyramid of Cheops, one of the 7 wonders of the world, is fraught with many secrets. Behind the stone walls of this grandiose structure are hidden the mysterious rituals that were carried out in the depth of the pyramid. In the ancient passages and chambers of the Cheops pyramid, where the mummy of the great pharaoh lived, priests performed religious rituals designed to strengthen the magical protection of the deceased. Under the glow of thousands of torches, they cast ancient spells, turning to the gods and spirits of their ancestors. These spells not only protected the pharaoh's soul from evil spirits and curses, but also helped it travel to the afterlife, the world of the gods and eternity. Even thousands of years after the death of Cheops, these rituals remain the subject of study and admiration. They remind us of the ancient Egyptians' belief in eternity, their desire to maintain connection with the dead, and perpetuate their memory in the majestic pyramids. The leader's last journey. The Scythians are one of the most fascinating and mysterious people of antiquity. Their culture and religion was saturated with a number of unique rituals. One of the most striking and at the same time creepy was the burial ceremony of leaders. According to ancient sources, in particular the stories of Herodotus, when a high-ranking Scythian or leader died, his body was subjected to special procedures. First, the body was embalmed and then placed in a burial pit. But that was not all. The leader did not set off on his final journey alone. His servants, lovers, and sometimes even friends went to the grave with him. According to beliefs of the Scythians, this was done so that the deceased would not feel lonely in the afterlife. To perform such a ritual, servants and mistresses were chosen who were believed to be especially devoted to the leader. They were first put to sleep with a drink, and then their lives were sacrificed so that their souls could accompany their master to another world. In addition, the Scythians believed in a close connection between a man and his horse. Therefore, the horse horses that belonged to the deceased were also killed and buried nearby. Such a ritual was not only a manifestation of respect for the deceased, but also a demonstration of the power and wealth of the deceased leader. Among the Scythian mounds found, many contain the remains of not only people, but also animals, which indicates the widespread use of this ritual. Opening of the mouth. The Egyptians believed that after death, a person passes into another dimension where his soul, or Ka, continues to live. However, in order for the soul to fully exist in the afterlife, the body of the deceased had to be prepared in a special way. After a complex embalming process that preserved the body from the decomposition, the opening of the mouth ritual was performed. The priest, equipped with special instruments, symbolically opened the lips and eyes of the deceased. This action had a deep symbolic meaning. By opening the mouth, the priest returned to the deceased the ability to breathe, speak, and eat. The opening of the eyes allowed the soul to see the beauty and dangers of the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that without this ritual, the soul of the deceased would not be able to fully enjoy the benefits of the other world and might even face dangers, unable to protect itself or even eat. It was believed that the opening of the mouth would give the deceased a new life, making him a full-fledged inhabitant of the world of the dead. This rite was so important that images of it can often be found on the walls of tombs and on papyri, which depict various stages of funerary rituals. The priest performing the ritual was usually depicted with a stone knife or other instrument touching the mouth and eyes of the mummy. Secret meetings of Great Perm. Among the snow-capped peaks of the Ural Mountains lies an ancient and terrifying secret that still inspires fear in the locals. Perm the Great, shrouded in secrets and legends, keeps the story of creepy night rituals in the mountains. They say that every new moon, when the darkness becomes thickest and impenetrable, shamans and adherents of ancient cults gather in a sacred clearing in the center of the mountains. They bring animals with them for sacrifice and build huge fires. This ritual is over 700 years old. The ritual begins with the shrill cry of the shaman who summons the spirits of ancestors and powerful forces of nature. Then, while dancing around the fire, the participants of the ritual call upon the spirits and pronounce ancient spells. It is believed that on this night, the line between the world of the living and the world of spirits is destroyed, and those who are in the clearing can see the ghosts and spirits of their ancestors. The darkest moment of the ritual is the sacrifice. Shamans believe that the blood and souls of sacrificed animals strengthen their connection to the spirit world and allow them to receive prophecies or even special abilities. Although many consider these stories to be mere legends, there is evidence that the rituals continue into the present day. Some residents of the Urals talk about strange lights that can be seen on mountain peaks on the night of the new moon and about piercing screams coming from the depth of the mountains. Many avoid these places, especially on new moon nights, for fear of encountering participants in the mysterious ritual. The most terrible sect of antiquity. Ahuri is one of the most extreme and mystical sects in Hinduism, whose practices and rituals often cause shock and misunderstanding among others. Situated primarily in the city of Varanasi on the sacred Ganges River, these hermits worship Shiva in his Bhairava aspect, the Lord of the Dead. The main tenet of the Ahuri faith is the idea that there is nothing bad or unclean in the universe. For this reason, they choose cemeteries for meditation, believing that being close to the dead helps them overcome their fears and get closer to the divine. One of the most shocking aspects of their practice is cannibalism. Ahuri believe that eating the flesh of the dead gives them supernatural powers, allowing them to free themselves from the reincarnation cycle and become a demigod. However, it is worth noting that they do not kill people for food. Instead, they feed on the bodies of those who have died naturally. These hermits also practice rituals that involve the use of psychoactive substances such as alcohol and cannabis to achieve deep states of meditation and connection with the divine. Witch trials. Medieval Europe was an era filled with religious passions, superstitions, and fears of the unknown. One of the darkest chapters in the continent's history is the witch hunt, a period in which thousands of women accused of witchcraft were subjected to brutal torture and often fatal trials. Beliefs that witches could form alliances with the devil, harm people, or cause natural disasters were deeply rooted in the popular consciousness. Under the influence of the church and its teachings about heresy and the devil's tricks, there was real hysteria regarding witches. Witch trials could begin with simple rumors or accusations from neighbors. A woman could be accused of using magic spells to spoil crops or cause illness in animals. After the accusation, torture followed. They were used to force the witch to admit her guilt. Among the most famous methods of torture were water tests. The suspect was tied up and lowered into water. If she drowned, it was considered proof of her innocence. However, it cost her her life. If she remained on the surface, she was considered to be a witch. Other tortures included skin burning, stretching on the rack, and many other cruel methods. Many of these women were burned at the stake. Witch hunts reached their peak in the 16th and the 17th centuries, and although most victims were women, male witches were also hunted down and executed. Lupercalia ritual. Ancient Rome was known not only for its conquests and architectural wonders, but also for its unique ritual holidays. One of these holidays, Lupercalia, was held in honor of the god of fertility Faunus. Every year in February, the heart of Rome was filled with special excitement. Young people, Luperci, walked through the streets of the capital to the sound of drums and pipes. They were dressed only in short leather belts, and in their hands they held whips made of goatskin. These whips were believed to have special properties. Young people ran through the streets, lightly hitting passers-by, especially women, with their whips. This custom was not cruelty or punishment. On the contrary, it was considered a blessing and a symbol of fertility. Women who were whipped believed that this would increase their chances of conceiving and having a successful birth of a child in the near future. The ceremony itself took place near the Lupercal cave on the Palatine Hill, where, according to legend, the she-wolf fed the founders of the Rome, Romulus and Remus. Young Luperci sacrificed goats, after which they smeared the blood of the victim on the faces of the participants in the ritual, and then, having washed it off with a cloth blessed with milk, they began to run through the streets of Rome. Sacrifices to Moloch. Moloch is a god whose name is at the center of many ancient legends and myth. Although he is most often associated with the ancient cults of Phoenicia and Carthage, rumors and stories of rituals in honor of Moloch reached ancient Greece. According to ancient sources, the statue of Moloch was made in the form of a man with the head of a bull. The statue had red-hot copper hands, into which parents placed their firstborn children as a sacrifice. A fire burned under the hands of the statue, and when the children fell on these hot hands, they rolled directly into the flames. For the ancient Greeks, especially those who wrote down these stories, such rituals were a matter of horror and disgust. However, it is worth considering that many of these records could be distorted or even fictitious, since the Greeks and Carthaginians were rivals and fought among themselves in the Punic Wars. Myths about sacrifices to Moloch were likely strengthened and reinterpreted over time. While some historians believe that such rituals actually took place in ancient cultures, others believe that these stories were part of propaganda intended to smear the enemy. The first cannibals in history. The Caribs, an Indian tribe that lived in the Antilles, were, according to legend, terrible cannibals. The word cannibal came from the name of this tribe and became a general term describing cannibalism. The Europeans who arrived on these islands carried across the ocean horror stories of the bloodthirsty rituals of the Caribs. According to legends, the Caribs attacked neighboring tribes, capturing captives whom they then killed and consumed as food during their religious ceremonies. It was believed that eating human flesh not only gave the strength of the slain warrior, but it also served as a way to strengthen social bonds within the tribe. However, it is likely that stories of Caribbean cannibalism were exaggerated or even invented by Europeans. Some historians believe that these stories could serve as justification for the cruelty and aggression of the colonists against the local population. But even if we put aside European propaganda, we are left with oral traditions from other indigenous tribes in the region that also speak of the bloodthirsty customs of the Caribs. These stories, combined with archaeological finds, provide us with a complex picture of the practices and beliefs of this mysterious tribe. Initiation rites. In the depth of the Lascaux Caves, one of the most famous Paleolithic archaeological sites in the world, lies one of the most mysterious secrets of the ancient Cro-Magnons. The walls of this cave are decorated with magnificent drawings by ancient artists depicting animals, hunting scenes, and other symbols. But among all these works of art, we are attracted to strange handprints. It is believed that these prints are traces of ancient initiation rites. Young members of the tribe may have touched the cave wall, leaving their mark as a sign of transition to a new stage of life. This action could symbolize their connection with their ancestors, the spirits of the cave, and the world around them. The ritual could include various tests, a long stay in the darkness of a cave, meditation, or even some form of asceticism. By leaving their mark, the young men confirm their belonging to the tribe, the readiness to become full members of the community. Handprints are not just random marks on walls, these are evidence of deep spiritual practices and rituals that were part of the lives of ancient people. Funeral games. Ancient Rome, famous for its fighting arenas and gladiatorial games, also developed a unique ritual to honor the dead, funeral games. This ritual served as a tribute to the deceased, as well as a way to demonstrate their status, wealth, and influence even after death. It was believed that the more gladiators who died in the arena in honor of the deceased, the more honor his soul was surrounded in the afterlife. Fights were often financed by the family or friends of the deceased to highlight his importance in society. The higher the status of the deceased, the bloodier and large-scale the funeral games were. This custom arose in the early period of Roman history and, according to some sources, originated from the Etruscans. However, over time, it turned into a national spectacle, and funeral games began to be held even in honor of the emperors. These events sometimes featured thousands of gladiators, and the games could last for several days. But these were not just bloody battles. For the Romans, gladiator matches were something big. They saw in them the embodiment of Roman virtues: courage, fortitude, fearlessness before death. Gladiators going to their death symbolized the spirit of Rome, its indomitability and greatness. In addition, funeral games also had religious significance. It was believed that the blood of gladiators pacified the spirits of the deceased and provided them with a favorable position in the afterlife. In a way, it was a sacrifice in honor of the dead. Sky burial. Sky burial is one of the most intriguing and mystical rites of ancient China. This ritual was closely associated with the ancient Chinese deeply held beliefs in the afterlife and the importance of providing comfort to the deceased ruler in his new reality. The supreme ruler, or son of heaven, as he was often called, was more than just a monarch for his subjects. He was a mediator between earth and heaven, a symbol of harmony and order. The death of such a ruler was a significant and turning point event that required special rituals. The main idea of the sky burial was to surround the deceased monarch with everything necessary for a comfortable life in another world. To do this, a large number of servants were buried with him, believing that they would serve him and satisfy all his needs in the afterlife. Preserved archaeological evidence suggests that such burials were indeed practiced. The tombs were real underground palaces with holes, corridors, and chambers filled with art, weapons, jewelry, and even food. But the most touching and at the same time creepy thing is the people buried with the ruler, who were probably voluntarily or forcibly selected to accompany their sovereign. Rite of the Grey Masks. Hidden in the mystical jungles of Central America, among the mighty trees and wet greenery, was the ancient city of Tikal. This city, one of the most majestic cities of Maya, witnessed one of the most unusual and mysterious rituals, the Rite of the Grey Masks. Once every 10 years, when the first ray of dawn touched the tops of the pyramids, the inhabitants of Tikal gathered in the main square of the city to perform an ancient rite. Men, women, and even children put masks on their faces made of special clay, thin and fragile like glass. These masks deprived them of the ability to speak, turning each into a silent guardian of their secrets. For a month, those wearing masks did not communicate with each other. They were silent, listening to the whispers of the jungle and the sounds of nature, trying to find a connection with the gods. The townspeople believed that by wearing a mask, they were offering their faces to the gods, giving them their fears, hopes, and dreams. At the end of the month, on the summer solstice, the inhabitants of Tikal gathered at the foot of the main pyramid. At the moment when the sun reached its climax, everyone took off their mask and threw it into the fire, which the priests had previously lit. The flame destroyed the masks, symbolizing the liberation of the soul from earthly shackles. Some of these rituals are still shrouded in secrecy, forcing us to think about the limits of human cruelty and faith. Jane Lowe, Baby Jessica. Jane Lowe, known as Baby Jessica, became the center of media attention in October 1987 when the 18-month-old girl fell into a narrow well in Texas. The incident turned into a real drama in front of the whole world. Television channels broadcast the rescue operation throughout the 58 hours of her rescue. The well, almost 7 meters deep and only 20 centimeters in diameter, turned out to be a death trap for the baby. Rescuers worked through various strategies to try to free Jane safely. The story ended with a happy ending. Jane was successfully rescued and taken to the hospital. This event showed not only the professionalism of the rescuers, but also the unity of people who prayed and worried for the fate of the child. Today, Jane Lowe lives an ordinary life, but her story remains one of the most memorable in the US media history. Unusual Tokyo resident. In 2006, an unusual discovery occurred in Tokyo, which shocked both the local population and the international community. In one of the city's apartments, a man discovered that strange things were happening in his house. Food was disappearing and things were changing their location. But the most amazing thing was that all the doors and windows always remained closed. After installing a video surveillance system, the men discovered something surprising. A certain woman came out of a large upper closet and used his food and things when the owner was not at home. It turned out that she had been living in this closet for several years. When detained, the woman explained that she did not have a permanent place of residence and decided to settle in the closet when the apartment seemed empty. She carefully hid when the owner came home and came out when he was not there. Lius family. The Lius family has become a symbol of perseverance and survival in extreme conditions. Over many years of living in a secluded part of Siberia, they have adapted to a life almost completely cut off from the outside world. Returning to the distant 1930s, the Lius, excluding the influence of the outside world and its problems, decided to become hermits in the deep taiga. Over the years, their hermit life became a legend. They compensated for the lack of modern technologies, medicines, and conveniences of civilization with the ability to survive relying on natural resources and age-old knowledge. For decades, they lived in harmony with nature, demonstrating amazing adaptability. The exceptional survival of the Lius family in the depth of the taiga is a symbol of human resilience and proof that even in the most difficult conditions, a person is able to preserve humanity and the spirit of family. 33 miners from Chile. The year 2010 went down in the history of Chile not only as a year of terrible tragedy, but also as a time of amazing endurance, solidarity, and courage. On August 5th, a collapse occurred in the San Jose copper gold mine, cutting off the exit 33 miners. At a depth of 688 meters in complete darkness, with limited supplies of food and water, these people forced to fight for survival. The first 17 days after the collapse were the hardest. On the surface, no one knew whether the miners survived or not. However, below, despite extremely limited resources, the miners managed to remain hopeful and cooperate for the common good. They distributed among themselves the remaining food, which barely lasted for several days, so that everyone could get at least a small portion. When rescuers managed to drill a hole to the blocked miners and establish communication, the world breathed a sigh of relief. From now on, food and water and medical supplies were delivered to the miners through this well. The entire rescue process lasted 69 days and required a lot of technical innovation. This operation became a real miracle of engineering, as well as an example of an unbending will to live. When the last of the miners was brought to the surface, it was a moment of national unity for Chile and an inspiring event for the world. The triumph of the human spirit over the difficulties and tribulations of life. The 2010 San Jose mine event reminded the world of the value of every human life and the need to remain hopeful and believe in the best even in the most critical situations. Wolf Girl from India. Sometimes, history gives rise to stories that are more like legends. One such story is the case of a wolf girl from India, which occurred in 1920. Deep in the jungles of Bihar district, two little girls were found living with wolves. The eldest of them was named Kamala and the youngest Amala. According to witnesses, they ran on all fours, ate raw meat, and made sounds similar to wolf howls. The girls were discovered by priest Joseph Singh, who worked in an orphanage. Trying to integrate them into human society, he encountered a lot of problems. Kamala and Amala could not walk on two legs, did not understand human speech, and were completely unsocialized. Over time, thanks to the efforts of the priest and other guardians, the girls began to show signs of human behavior. However, the process of socialization was extremely slow, and unfortunately, Amala died a year after their discovery. Kamala lived for several more years, gradually mastering some aspects of human life. She learned to walk on two legs and speak a few words, but until the end of her life, she was never able to fully adapt to life among people. The story of the Wolf Girls remains one of the most mysterious in the annals of wildlife and human society. It raises questions about the nature of human personality, the influence of the environment on the formation of the individual, and the boundaries between humans and wildlife. Living mummies. In 1972, the Andes mountain peaks in South America became the site of an amazing discovery. At an altitude of about 3,600 meters, a crashed plane was found which went missing in 1941. But the most striking thing was not the location of the plane itself, but the state of the bodies of the passengers. Thanks to the cold and dry conditions at this altitude, the bodies of the dead turned into so-called living mummies. Their skin was dried out, but remained surprisingly intact and retained signs of life. This phenomena is caused by the unique climatic conditions of mountainous areas, low temperatures, dry air, and ultraviolet radiation at high altitudes. The discovered mummies have become the subject of study for scientists from different countries. They analyze the condition of the bodies, trying to understand the processes that led to such unusual preservation. By that time, this disaster had already been forgotten, and the relatives of the victims had had the opportunity to learn about the fate of their loved ones and see them off on their last journey. 500 Days in a Cave. Spanish speleologist Beatriz Flamini volunteered to spend 500 days 70 meters deep in a cave and was surprised at how quickly time flew by. She began her experiment at the age of 48 on November 20, 2021 and managed to celebrate 2 birthdays underground. Her days were filled with physical training, creativity, and reading. Flamini read 60 books and drank out about 1,000 liters of water. At the same time, she believes that she is stuck in time. It seems to her that the world stopped at the very moment when she went down into the cave, and after that nothing happened. But we know that over the past 2 years, the world has changed significantly. Her days were sometimes darkened when the cave became infested with flies, but the team that supervised her on the surface lifted her spirits with treats like fresh avocados, eggs, and new clothes. Despite her loneliness, Flamini maintained spiritual balance, being aware of her feelings and avoiding panic. On the surface, friends, a delicious dinner, and a long-awaited shower await her. Beatrice is also planning a checkup with doctors. Speleologists, psychologists, and other specialists are interested in how the experiment affected her health and psyche. Ernest Shackleton's survival story. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton and his crew set sail on the Endurance to Antarctica with the intention of crossing it via the South Pole. However, the expedition's plans were ruined when frost and ice masses began to squeeze their ship, immersing them in an ice trap. The ship was crushed and destroyed, and the crew found themselves far from civilization in the cruel polar desert. This was a critical moment that required extraordinary leadership and determination. Shackleton, realizing the danger of the situation, decided to save his people regardless of personal safety. Instead of giving in to despair, he and his crew used the ship's lifeboats to travel through the icy wastes and cold waters of the Southern Ocean, hoping to reach safety. Overcoming harsh conditions, Shackleton's team members covered thousands of kilometers of ice and water. The trials they endured included starvation, frost burns, snowstorms, and the risk of freezing. But thanks to Shackleton's amazing will to live, teamwork, and indomitable spirit, every member of his team was saved. The journey of Shackleton and his crew became a symbol of survival, courage, and leadership in the most extreme conditions. Boy in a Bubble. There are stories in the world of medicine that make us think about human resilience, courage, and the endless pursuit of life. One such story is the life of David Vader, a boy who became known to the world as the Boy in the Bubble. David was born on September 21, 1971, with a severe immune system disorder known as CID, Severe Combined Immunodeficiency. As a result of this disease, his body was unable to resist infections. Any disease, even a cold, could be fatal for him. To protect David from the outside world and potential infections, doctors created a special sterile bubble, an isolated room where the boy could live without contact with the outside world. Everything that came into his bubble underwent strict sterilization. For most people, the idea of living in complete isolation sounds like a nightmare, but for David, it was the only way to survive. Despite his isolation, he was an inquisitive, educated, and cheerful boy. His family, doctors, and teachers interacted with him through special gloves and screens, providing him with education and social interaction. However, his isolation left its mark on David's psychological state. He experienced loneliness, stress, and depression, dreaming of one day leaving his bubble and living a full life. In 1984, at the age of 12, David left the bubble due to a medical procedure to treat his condition. Unfortunately, the procedure did not bring the expected results, and a few months later, David passed away. Thai school children in a cave. The summer of 2018 will be remembered by the world as one of the most intense and touching rescue operations. On June 23, a group of 12 boys and their soccer coach went on an excursion to Tham Luang Cave in Thailand. An unexpected flood caused by rainfall blocked their exit and the trap slammed shut. The first days in the cave were spent waiting for the water to go away and for them to get out on their own. But the water did not go away, and food supplies were quickly running out. The boys and coach were forced to drink water dripping from the ceiling and wait for help. The rescue operation became a real challenge. Due to the complexity of the route, narrow corridors, and rapidly changing water levels, divers had to overcome numerous obstacles. Volunteers and specialists from all over the world arrived to help, creating a real headquarters for saving children. The operation was complicated by the fact that many of the boys did not know how to swim, let alone dive. However, thanks to the efforts and professionalism of the divers, as well as the unbending will to live of the boys themselves, the rescuers managed to rescue several people every day. Unfortunately, not everything went smoothly. 38-year-old Thai prisoner of war Saman Kunan died after running out of oxygen during the preparatory operation. But despite all the difficulties, on July 10th, all 12 boys and their coach were safely brought to the surface. They spent 17 days trapped, relying on fortitude and hope for rescue. Loneliness in the sands of the Sahara. The year 1994 brought one of the most exciting and amazing survival stories. Mauro Prosperi, an Italian athlete and adventure enthusiast, decided to take part in one of the most difficult marathons in the world, the Marathon of the Sands. This race, which runs through the Sahara Desert, is known for its extreme and dangerous nature. During the race, a strong sandstorm separated Prosperi from the main group of competitors. Finding himself alone among the endless sands, he lost his bearings and got lost. Imagine the burning sun, unbearable thirst, a feeling of complete loneliness and despair. Prosperi was forced to adapt to the harsh desert conditions. To quench his thirst, he drank his urine and also tried to get moisture from the flesh of snakes and lizards. The days turned into an endless test of his spirit and body. After 10 days of wandering, having walked about 200 kilometers, Prosperi, emaciated and exhausted, was found in an oasis. His perseverance and desire to live despite all difficulties became a real inspiration for many. This story is a powerful reminder that the human spirit is capable of overcoming the most difficult circumstances and fighting for life until the very end. Julian Kupke. 1971. The plane flying from Lima to Pucallpa crashed due to a lightning strike in the dense jungle of Peru. There were 92 passengers on board, but only one of them survived, 17-year-old Julian Kupke. The plane disintegrated at high altitude and Julian fell huddled in her row of seats. When she came to her senses, she was surrounded by wild thickets and it began to rain and thunder. With a small wound on her arm and a broken collarbone, she began her journey in hopes of finding help. Lucky by nature and with a basic knowledge of the jungle, thanks to her biology parents, Julianne decided to follow the river downstream, believing it would lead her to the people. During her 11 days in the jungle, she faced many dangers: wild animals, hunger, river currents, and infections. However, her determination and instincts helped her move forward. Eating only fruit and water from the river, Julianne continued on her way. On the 11th day, when hope had almost abandoned her, she discovered a boat off the shore and a hut nearby. The jungle residents found her and provided first aid, after which they organized her evacuation. Cupcake later moved to Germany, where she fully recovered from her injuries. She studied biology at the University of Kiel and graduated in 1980. Cupcake married in 1989 and became director of a research station in the forests of Peru in 2000 after the death of her father, who previously held this position. These stories show what a person is capable of when faced with danger and needs faith and hope to survive. These people remind us of the value of life and how important it is not to lose faith even in the most difficult circumstances. Thank you for watching, and remember that miracles happen every day. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new stories and share this video with your friends. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone!